Hello, dear listeners. I hope you are doing well today. Before we begin, I want you to think about someone who changed your life, someone you never forgot. Maybe a friend, maybe a family member, or maybe a teacher. Today's story is about a girl who carried one memory in her heart for many years, a memory she could never leave behind. My name is Lily. When I was 13 years old, I believed I was invisible, not because people could not see me, but because nobody seemed to notice me. I sat in the back of the classroom. I rarely spoke. I never raised my hand. And every day I went home thinking the same thing. I am not good enough. My father worked long hours. My mother was always busy. They loved me. I know they did. But life was difficult. Nobody had much time. Nobody asked how I felt. School was not much better. Some students were smart. Some were popular. Some were talented. I was none of those things. At least, that is what I believed. Then one day, a new teacher arrived. Her name was Miss Rose. She was not the youngest teacher. She was not the strictest teacher. But there was something different about her. Something warm. Something kind. The first time she entered our classroom, she smiled at everyone. And somehow, that smile felt real. A few days later, she gave us a writing assignment. Most students finished quickly. I stared at my paper. I had no idea what to write. Miss Rose walked past my desk. She stopped, then quietly said, "You can do this, Lily." I looked up, surprised, confused. She knew my name. Nobody ever remembered my name. Not teachers, not students, nobody. Yet somehow she did. That evening, I spent 2 hours writing. 2 whole hours. When I handed in my paper the next day, my hands were shaking. A week later, Miss Rose returned our assignments. I expected another poor grade. I expected disappointment. Instead, I found a small note at the bottom. Deep breath. "Lily, you have a beautiful way of telling stories. Never stop writing." I must have read those words 20 times, maybe 30. I carried that paper everywhere, at school, at home, even under my pillow at night, because for the first time in my life, someone believed I could be something. After that, everything slowly began to change. I started answering questions. I started reading more books. I even made a few friends. For the first time, I felt like I belonged somewhere, and every step forward seemed connected to one person, Miss Rose. One afternoon after class, she stopped me near the door. "Lily?" "Yes, Miss Rose?" She smiled. "I entered your story into a city writing competition." My eyes widened. "What?" "I think you have a chance." I almost laughed. A chance? Me? The quiet girl from the back row? It sounded impossible, but Miss Rose believed it, and somehow that made me believe it too. Silence. Weeks passed. Then one morning, the school principal entered our classroom. He looked excited, very excited. Deep breath. He held a piece of paper in his hand. Then he smiled and called my name. Lily Parker. The entire class turned toward me. My heart started racing. The principal raised the paper and said, "Congratulations, you won first place." For a second, I thought I had heard him wrong. The classroom erupted with applause. Applause. Students were smiling. Teachers were smiling. Everyone was looking at me. But I wasn't looking at them. I was looking at Miss Rose, holding back tears. And she looked proud, not surprised, just proud, as if she already knew I could do it. That day changed my life. But I had no idea something else was about to change too, something I would never forget. Long pause. The following Monday, I arrived at school. I was excited to tell Miss Rose about the award ceremony. I ran toward her classroom, smiling, hopeful. Then I stopped. Silence. The classroom door was locked. Miss Rose was not there. Another teacher stood inside. I felt a strange feeling in my stomach, a very strange feeling. Pause. I raised my hand. Where is Miss Rose? The teacher looked at me, then looked away, and quietly said, Miss Rose won't be coming back. My heart dropped. What do you mean? Nobody answered, and at that moment, I knew something was terribly wrong. To be continued. Miss Rose won't be coming back. For a moment, I could not move. I could not speak. I just stood there, staring at the teacher, waiting for someone to say it was a joke. But nobody did. I sat through every class that day, yet I heard almost nothing. My mind kept repeating the same question. Why? Why did she leave? After school, I went to the teacher's office. I wanted answers, any answers. But every teacher told me the same thing. We don't know. Or maybe they simply didn't want to tell a 13-year-old girl the truth. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Miss Rose never came back. Sometimes I would walk past her old classroom and stop, just for a few seconds, as if she might suddenly appear, smiling, holding her books, calling my name. But she never did. Life moved forward. School ended, then college, then work. Years passed. I became a writer. The dream Miss Rose had seen inside me long before I saw it myself. Every time I published a story, I thought about her. Every success felt connected to her. One evening after a book event, a young girl approached me. She held one of my books in her hands, and she looked nervous, very nervous. Miss Lily? I smiled. Yes? She took a deep breath, then said, Your stories make me believe in myself. My heart stopped for a second, because those words sounded familiar. Very familiar. They sounded exactly like something Miss Rose would have said. That night, I went home and opened an old box. Inside were childhood memories, photos, certificates, school papers, and there, carefully folded between two notebooks, was the note Miss Rose had written years ago. Lily, you have a beautiful way of telling stories. Never stop writing. I sat there for a long time, reading those words again, and again, and again. Then I noticed something strange. On the back of the paper, there was writing. Very small writing. Something I had never noticed before. My hands started shaking. I turned the page over and read, If you ever need me, Rose Carter, 17 Maple Street. I stared at the address. How had I never seen it before? For nearly 15 years, the answer had been sitting inside my room, waiting. The next morning, I took a day off work. I printed a map, packed a small bag, and started driving. The address was 4 hours away, 4 long hours, and during every mile, I wondered the same thing. What if she wasn't there? What if she had moved? What if she didn't even remember me? By late afternoon, I finally arrived. The house was small, old, quiet, nothing like I had imagined. I sat in my car, staring at it, my hands trembling on the steering wheel. After all these years, I was finally here. I walked to the front door and knocked. Once, twice, 3 times. No answer. My heart sunk. Maybe I was too late. Maybe she was gone. Then suddenly, I heard footsteps, slow footsteps, coming closer. The door slowly opened. An elderly woman stood there. Her hair was gray now. Her face looked older, much older. But her eyes, I knew those eyes. For a moment, neither of us spoke. She looked at me, confused, trying to remember. Then suddenly, her eyes widened. Lily? I felt tears filling my eyes. Miss Rose. Before I could say another word, I noticed something that instantly frightened me, very frightened me. Behind her, inside the house, was medical equipment, medicine bottles, and a hospital bed. And that was when I realized Miss Rose had been hiding a secret all these years. And that was when I realized Miss Rose had been hiding a secret all these years. I stood frozen at the door, unable to speak, unable to think. The hospital bed sat quietly in the corner. Medicine bottles covered a small table. The room felt heavy, as if it had been carrying pain for a very long time. Miss Rose noticed where I was looking. Then she smiled gently, the same smile I remembered from school. I guess you saw it. I swallowed hard. What happened? For a moment, she did not answer. She slowly walked toward a chair and sat down. Then she looked out the window. A few months after I left your school, she paused. I got sick. My chest tightened. The doctors found a serious illness. I stared at her, unable to believe it. You left because of that? She nodded. I had to. The treatments were long. The pain was difficult, and I didn't want my students to see me that way. Tears filled my eyes. All those years, I thought she had simply disappeared. I thought she had forgotten us, forgotten me. But the truth was so different. Miss Rose looked at me carefully. Then she smiled. You became a writer. I laughed softly through my tears. You knew? She pointed toward a bookshelf. My books were sitting there, every single one. You read them? Every one. For a second, I could not breathe. The woman who changed my life had quietly followed my journey all these years, without me knowing, without asking for anything. Tears rolled down my face. I'm sorry. Miss Rose looked confused. Sorry for what? I lowered my head. Because I never came looking for you. Because it took me 15 years. Because I thought you left us. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she reached out and gently touched my hand. Lily. I looked up. You were a child. You had your own life to live. You don't owe me an apology. Those words broke something inside me, and healed something too. For the next 2 hours, we talked about school, about books, about old memories, about life. It felt as if 15 years had disappeared. Then I asked the question I had carried in my heart for years, the question that never left me. Miss Rose, why did you believe in me? She smiled, a warm smile, the kind that makes you feel safe. Because you reminded me of myself. I blinked, confused. She laughed softly. When I was your age, I thought I wasn't good enough either. That surprised me. To me, Miss Rose had always seemed strong, confident, fearless. But now I saw the truth. She was human too. She had fears, doubts, scars, just like everyone else. Then she said something I will never forget. Lily, sometimes the people who need kindness the most are the people who look the strongest. I sat quietly, listening, letting those words settle inside my heart. Outside, the sun was beginning to set. The room glowed with soft orange light. Everything felt peaceful, for the first time in years. Before I left, Miss Rose handed me a small notebook, an old notebook. The cover was worn. The pages were yellow. "What's this?" I asked. She smiled. "My notes." I opened it carefully. Inside were hundreds of names, former students, and beside every name, a short message, something she admired about them, something good she saw in them. Then I found my name, Lily Parker. My hands started shaking. Beside it, she had written, "Future Writer." I could barely see the words anymore. My eyes were full of tears. She believed in me long before I believed in myself. A year later, Miss Rose passed away peacefully. When I received the phone call, I sat quietly for a long time, holding that notebook, not speaking, not moving. Then I opened it again and read the words beside my name, "Future Writer." This time, I smiled, because she had been right. At her memorial service, many former students came. Doctors, teachers, artists, business owners, parents, all different people, all different lives. Yet every single person told the same story. Miss Rose had changed them. Miss Rose had believed in them. Miss Rose had given them hope. And standing there, listening to those stories, I finally understood something. A great teacher does not simply teach lessons. A great teacher changes lives. Even years later, even after they're gone, their kindness keeps living inside the people they helped. Today, whenever I meet a young person who doubts themselves, I remember Miss Rose, and I try to give them what she gave me, a little encouragement, a little hope, a little belief. Because one sentence can change a life, one kind word can change a future, and one teacher can become a memory that never fades. My name is Lily, and after all these years, I still haven't forgotten my teacher. The end.